Hi, my name is Yazan Ibrahim, also known as Yazan Abu Ghosh. Today we will talk about Chapter 2, Part A, IT Governance 2.8 Laws, Regulations and Industry Standards Affecting the Organization. When we step into the interconnected world of IT systems, data flows and regulations, it can seem a bit like walking through an impossibly intricate maze, walls stretching toward the sky with twists, forks and dead ends. But this maze isn't just about navigation for its own sake. Each turn, each pathway exists to protect something valuable. That's exactly what laws, regulations, and industry standards do in the landscape of IT. They're the guardrails, the warning signs, and sometimes even the walls themselves, designed to protect sensitive data, organizational assets, and the interests of stakeholders from the wide variety of risks out there. Let's delve deeper into this fascinating maze and uncover not just how it works, but why it's so vital. The rule book of protection. Imagine running a bank. People trust you with their savings, their livelihoods. But what if your vault doors were flimsy or your surveillance system was non existent? It wouldn't take long for pandemonium to strike, would it? The world of IT isn't any different. As data weaves through its life cycle, from the moment it's received, processed, stored, or shared until it's ultimately destroyed, it faces threats lurking in every corner. Hackers, mishandling, breaches. The risks are endless. To safeguard vital information like personal data, intellectual property, and financial details, laws and regulations step in to establish accountability. Think of them as the no-nonsense security protocols of the IT world. Regulations like the GDPR or HIPAA ensure that personal data remains private. Others, like Sarbanes-Oxley SOX, ensure financial integrity. These standards reduce chaos, giving businesses not just responsibilities but possibilities, because when data is safe, trust thrives. And while some of these laws apply across industries globally, others are tailored specifically for unique fields. A hospital's patient data is safeguarded differently than a financial institution's records. Yet, whether specific or general, all these laws force one thing above all: well-maintained, actionable policies and practices. Put simply, they don't let organizations wing it when it comes to protecting data or managing risks. They demand a systematic approach, a map for navigating the maze. Governance, risk, and compliance, GRC, the glue that holds it together. Now let's talk about one of the star players of modern organizational strategy, GRC, which stands for governance, risk management, and compliance. Picture an orchestra. Each section may be playing its own tune, strings, woodwinds, percussion, but without the conductor, the music would quickly turn into chaos. GRC is that conductor. Traditionally, governance, risk, and compliance were handled separately, creating what felt like a noisy, disjointed performance. But as Michael Rasmussen, a well-known GRC expert, points out, the terms overlap and carry different interpretations depending on the organization. That's where GRC steps in. It integrates these processes into a harmonious, streamlined system. Why is this convergence so important? Think back to the infamous Sarbanes-Oxley Act, the law that arose after scandals like Enron rocked financial markets. It forced businesses to prioritize rigorous controls over financial processes. Over time, this led to the birth of GRC. Today, organizations use it as a multi-pronged framework to oversee everything from financial audits to cybersecurity policies. By connecting dots between governance, risk assessment, and compliance, GRC ensures that companies aren't just reacting to crises, they're proactively managing them. But here's the beauty of GRC: it isn't confined to one area. While a financial GRC program polices accounting practices and adherence to SOX, IT GRC focuses on cybersecurity, data privacy, and even things like disaster recovery readiness. And let's not forget legal GRC, which handles regulatory compliance on a broader level. Together, these pillars ensure organizations navigate the maze without stumbling into legal or financial quicksand. The impact on audits, watching the watchmen. Here's where things get even more interesting. Regulations don't just dictate what organizations should do. They often send watchdogs to check whether these rules are actually being followed. This is where audits come into play. For auditors, their job is more than just flipping pages of a checklist. It's like inspecting a dam to ensure the walls will hold during a storm. Every regulation adds its own weight to the structure, and an oversight in compliance is like a crack that can escalate into catastrophic failure. For instance, if a US healthcare organization falters on HIPAA regulations, it risks exposing sensitive patient data, a mistake that could cost millions and obliterate trust. And the scope of audits is vast. Different countries and industries require varying legal adherence. In the United States alone, laws like FERPA focus on educational records, while COPPA protects children's online privacy. Across the Atlantic to the European Union and the GDPR take center stage, ensuring not just local compliance, but requiring international organizations dealing with EU citizens to follow suit. Even a South Korean company must adhere to South Africa's POPI Act if they're handling South African customers' data. It's like a global parade of rules ensuring no stone is left unturned. But rules alone aren't enough. The Institute of Internal Auditors, IIA, brings in a practical layer to regulatory compliance. They suggest a robust process for audits, starting with clear standards and procedures, translating legal jargon into actionable protocols for employees. The management has to step up too, assigning responsibility for compliance to senior leaders who wield the experience and authority to oversee corporate integrity. And of course, background checks, regular communication, training, and compliance monitoring play pivotal roles. If any cracks appear, auditors ensure they're not just patched but fortified. And when breaches are detected, companies are encouraged to act swiftly, both to minimize damage and, crucially, to prevent them in the future. Risk, a calculated dance between compliance and consequence. Here's a surprising twist. Although regulations and standards exist to keep companies on track, following the rules isn't always a given. Sometimes, organizations perform a cost-benefit analysis and decide to accept the penalties of non-compliance. This might sound reckless, but it's a stark reality. For instance, a startup might choose not to comply with an expensive regulation because they believe the chances of being caught are slim, or that the fine is more affordable than compliance costs. Of course, these calculations are nothing short of playing with fire. One major breach or penalty could bring catastrophic reputational and financial consequences. Still, it's a reminder that while the maze may have rules, it's up to each organization to decide how much risk they're willing to shoulder. Wrapping it up, a roadmap for the future. In this age of interconnectedness and constant technological innovation, the role of laws, regulations, and industry standards has never been more critical. They're the foundation upon which trust in financial data, medical records, and personal information is built. Without compliance frameworks, the IT realm would descend into chaos, a free-for-all where breaches and incidents become the norm. Governance, risk, and compliance offer a way out. A strategy for embedding accountability, foresight, and adaptability into the heart of every organization. But this maze isn't static, it evolves. Regulations grow more complex, cyber risks shift like shadows, and organizations themselves transform. The key isn't just navigating today's maze, but ensuring you're ready for the one waiting around the corner. So whether you're an auditor preparing to inspect an organization, a business leader steering through regulatory frameworks, or someone simply curious about how the machinery of trust functions in the modern world, remember, every twist, every turn in this maze has its purpose. And by respecting the rules, drawing on robust strategies like GRC, and staying vigilant, organizations can emerge stronger, more resilient, and ready for whatever challenges lie ahead. Thank you for watching, and as always, continue learning. Stay curious, and we'll see you next video.